that my voice isn't distorted, but like if I'm on your left, it's only gonna come through the left headphone.
That's really strange. Well,
Yeah.
I think we're live. Are we live? You know, it would be really nice if Twitch would just make it to where I could always know for real when I'm live. That would be very polite of Twitch. Yeah, look at that. All right, hello everyone,
Live.
and welcome to the Tower's Watch for part 3 of the Book of Sorrows. Oh, it's a happy book, and it's a happy part, full of happy things. I'm lying through my teeth, in case anyone was wondering.
That's a real lie. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, it's not a happy book, and it's definitely not a happy part. In fact, this is probably the most intense of everything that's happened up through this whole book thus far. Shout out to Champs. Thank you for volunteering and stepping into mod for us tonight. It seems like we're going to be pretty dry tonight, though, because it's, really, even safe gamer activity has been pretty slow this past couple of weeks. I blame it on Battlefront. It's all Battlefront's fault.
Is that out now, or is it the
it's just the beta. The beta's running, and so a lot of people are playing it. But that's okay, because the devoted people are going to be here learning depressing things about the Hive, because that's obviously more appealing. Right? Wow.
Well, I find it more appealing, but I'm apparently a masochist when it comes to lore.
Well, you know, I wasn't going to say anything. So I suppose we'll just get right into it. You know, we usually have most of our people shown up within the first couple minutes. So let's see here. We reread.
Just tweeting out the link.
To summarize, last week we covered the destruction of the Ammonites, name changes from the three sisters, and the fact that well, Oryx technically isn't a sister anymore. Aurix. But really, it was pretty uneventful overall. Right?
Yeah.
Is there anything
it was more a document of what their battle plan was for defeating the Ammonite.
That's true. That's true. Infecting their weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
So this week, the very first verse is titled Hive. And I read this one at the end of last week's, but I'll read it again. I will even incorporate our uniquely changed terminology.
Oh, brilliant. This is going to be great.
So, this is verse 3:0, titled Hive. Let us speak of the terrible beauty of becoming ourselves. In the beginning we rode hollow moons from star to star. Aurix said, become as numerous and fertile as seeds in rich flesh, and thus we did become numerous. Zivu Arath said, become as hungry and defiant as tumors in rich flesh, and thus we became cancerous. Savathun said, drink of the poisons of the worm, so that you might feed on death, and we did feed. This was preparation for our crusade. Aya, we were thus becoming. A mother wizard gets fertility from a mate or from herself. From the wizard, the spawn. From the spawn, our thrall. From the survivors, our acolytes who contend. If they contend well, their worm is fed, and from the well-fed worm come knights and wizards and princes. This is us, and our purpose is liberation. Our great task is the worship and admiration of freedom. Our great hunger is to pursue and eat that which is not free, and to liberate with the devouring. Heck yeah, this is us. We, the Hive. They don't say heck
Yes.
yeah. We've just decided that the word ayat for the Hive must be some sort of like celebratory exclamation thing, and the stream decided that the closest thing for the Hive would obviously be heck yeah.
It's canon now. It's canon.
It's canon.
The public has voted.
The Hive are saying heck yeah. Oh, okay. I was standing now. I didn't mean to be standing. There we go. So, this just kind of explains their system of belief, in essence. They're an infection that believes it's a cure to an infection. We talked last week a lot about the fact that the Hive seem to view themselves as a force of nature wherein by all that is not fit to exist is destroyed by them. If you are fit to exist and meant to exist, then when the Hive come to destroy you, you would not be destroyed, you would overcome, and they would not be fit to exist. Subsequently, they believe theory that they are the only things meant to exist, but they don't seem to really acknowledge that, which is interesting. They seem to give everything the chance to prove itself greater, almost with the idea that there might be something out there, which I just find that interesting.
There's always going to be an opposing force which is stronger. That again is part of the laws of the universe and natural selection. I think someone in the stream chat described it as.
Yeah. They are, and if you don't have the will to overcome that stronger opposing force, then you weren't meant to exist.
Either you die or you adapt.
Yep. So moving straight on, I'm actually going to read. I think I'm going to read 2 and 3, one and then the other right away. Yeah, because then things get weird after these two, and these two are pretty straightforward. Verse 3, 1, an incision. Saith Aurix, my siblings, our children, are scattered across many moons, and we live in the cold dark between suns. What will we eat? How will we speak? Savathun said, Aurix, my brother and king, I have studied the wounds cut by the worm, our god. Also I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice the sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. But Xivu Arath said, Sister, I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space. And she cut her way between moons through green fire and joyous screams. 3 kingdoms grew swollen in the sword space. They were the gaze and glory of Aurix, the cunning and knowledge of Savathun, the triumph and brawn of Xivu Arath. These kingdoms were created from the minds and worms of our lords. They were coterminous with all spaces consecrated by our hive. Through these spaces passed speech and food, and all the moons were bound close. Saith Aurix, this is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here, for I am Aurix, the first navigator, and I shall chart death, and my throne shall be carved of osmium. I suppose we should just briefly touch on the fact that this details the way and manner in which the 3 of them, primarily Xivu, became capable of carving open reality and forging portals and stuff between realms and areas and spaces. And that's really all it's detailing, but it does so by reminding us again that the hive grows stronger by what they kill. It's almost like they obtain the knowledge and prowess of the thing that they defeat, isn't it? That's really especially throughout it.
That's definitely what happens. I think one of the cards we're later going to read goes back to that point in detail. But it's not just death and then move on to the next death and the next death. They take something from that death. It binds them to that victim.
So it's fascinating because they can do that to each other even, which you'll see. Hive can kill each other infinitely to make each other stronger. Particularly the Ascendant Hive and the Hive that have the leading Hive, because they have their sword realm, so they can just kill each other and come back.
They're effectively immortal. They can't die, so they can do it over and over, and with each death, each kill, they grow stronger and stronger. They can do that indefinitely. So
uniquely, it's also shown that killing something that's immortal and comes back definitely doesn't benefit them as much as permanently killing something.
Yes, exactly.
Which is fascinating. It's just the semantics of how their sword logic as it is works.
I think they gain more power from something actually dying and not being able to come back, because by doing so they are defining its existence and their own existence.
That makes
to move
sense.
between life and death, transit between the ways in which things exist and do not exist. There's a power there.
Yeah, it's the defining. That really defining existence comes back to what they are. So verse 2 is called the High War. Now in this time of Disapora, there was a war between Aurix and Savathun and Xivu Arath. Brother Aurix said, "Savathun, do not forgive my betrayal. Instead, take vengeance upon me for what I did at the dry moon." And Aurix made war on her in worship of the deep. Between them stood Xivu Arath, saying, "Stop, or I will kill you. War is mine, and I am the strongest." This was how they worshipped. For 20,000 years they fought across the moons, and they fought in the abyssal plains and lightning palaces of each other's sword spaces. And they killed each other again and again, so that they could practice death. Such was their love. At last the many moons came to many worlds, and it was time to go to war on life. Aurix said, "I shall establish a court, and whoever comes into this court may challenge me. My court will be the High War. It will be a killing ground and a school of the sword logic we have learned from our gods." Savathun thought this was a great idea. She made a court called the High Coven. Xivu Arath said, "The world is my court, wherever there is war." In other words, Xivu Arath is going to show up soon. I mean, we are just like a giant bundle of war right here. I feel like...
I really want to meet her.
I feel like she's just going to come and carve us all to bits with her sword. Because of all of them that would come specifically wielding her sword to kill us, it would be Xivu.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, she's the one who most worships the act of war. She is the embodiment of war.
Indeed. And I mean, she wanted to be a knight from the very beginning of her existence.
Vengeance is all she knows.
Indeed. Verse 3 is... Part 3 is fire without fuel. I apologize if I'm going pretty fast. I think that currently it's registering my having the stream open, Lau's having the stream open, and Champs has the stream open. And I think that's all 3 of our viewers right now. So I'm pretty much just trying to get through this all so it can work really well as a podcast. In fact, I'll probably edit out this explanation of why I'm going so fast in the podcast. But so verse 3:3 is fire without fuel. I killed my sister today. She came to this star to oversee the extermination of all life here. The Kugu are a strong power, and their fleets protect 4 nearby stars. As herd animals, they are loyal and stubborn, but they do show grace. For millions of years of evolution, the Kugu have been infected by a virus, so insidious that it wrote itself into their genome. The virus compels them to offer their limbs for amputation by enormous sessile jaw beasts. They venerate these beasts and treat them as gods. The virus converts Kugu cells into eggs, from which strange crawling things pupate to live within the jaw beast gut. In turn, the jaw beast extrudes sweet nectar for the Kugu to drink, and they have brilliant visions. Savathun and her broods have liberated the Kugu from jaw beasts, and indeed from existence. But as they chased the Kugu arc ships, I stopped in to vaporize my sister's warship and a few of her underlings. I want to dwell on the ruins for a while, and punish Savathun for failing to guard her flank. They are like us, these Kugu, bound in symbiosis. I feel joy and sorrow. I feel them as titanic things, because I am larger than my body. My mind is now a cosmos of its own. I know more joy and more anguish than the entire Kugu race could ever experience. Sorrow, because we have killed so much, 18 species in this century alone. And joy, for the same reason. Joy that we have put down these blights, scoured them away, and left the universe clean, ready to move towards its final shape. We are a wind of progress, ripping parasites from the material world. For if they were not parasites, we would be unable to kill them, and they would still exist. And what is that final shape? It is a fire without fuel, burning forever, killing death, asking a question that is its own answer, entirely itself. That is what we must become. My worm grows fat and hungry. I feed it with whole worlds. My astronomers tell me they can sense the deep itself, and that we are conquering our way towards it. I think joy and sorrow will be the same thing soon, like love and death. Like love and death.
I have very strange emotions.
Like love and death. They're the same thing, guys. Love and death. It's hand in hand. If you love something, kill it. That's what the Hive would teach us. I find it... Here's just a cultural thing. Our culture is obsessed with the concept of eternal life. Like, that's our thing. Immortality. Forever young, etc., etc. And the Hive are the complete antithesis to everything we understand about culture. Because they find everything and all purpose and reason and motive in death. And they gain power in death. And I don't even... Like, to explain how horrifying that is, I don't have words for it.
It's like a dark mirror to humanity's view of the universe. Like you say, we are obsessed with becoming immortal ourselves, with the things we leave behind, the deeds we do. We want to last forever. The Hive want to last forever as well, by killing everything else.
Exactly. That's their understanding, that death produces existence. Existence is the fight to not cease existing. Yeah. It's interesting.
Where we're more on the creation side of the same goal, if you like.
Yeah, we seek endless preservation to perpetuate existence, whereas they seek perpetual destruction to preserve existence. That's
why they'd see us and our behavior and our cultures as parasitic.
Exactly.
Compared to their own.
We have the same end goal, but an entirely different understanding of how that end goal is reached. Verse 3, part 4 is called The Scream. No! Savathun, Zivu Arath, my siblings, we are betrayed. We will never live eternal. Our might shatters entire species. We inhale the smoke of their burning. This is our compact with the worm, our god. The worm makes us mighty, but as we wield this might, our worm's hunger expands. If we fail to feed it, it will devour us from within. We have exterminated 306 worlds, and now I am certain. My worm's hunger grows faster than the might I draw from it. We are bound by our covenant to obey our nature. Eternal search, eternal cunning, eternal conquest. But as we do this, my siblings, we feed our worms. And the more we feed them, the hungrier they grow. Faster and faster. Soon, my siblings, we will be so mighty, and our worms so hungry, that not with all our might could we possibly feed them, and we will be devoured. What can we do? That's the kind of one that would have been fun to get on its own. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, it's really nice to be able to just go one after the other, but that one just ends so abruptly that it has a lot of standalone value. In short,
just like the humanizing quality in that one, like the sense of fear that just drips from it.
That's true.
There's something that they are afraid of. Death itself. The one thing that they inflict on other people, they are afraid of.
Because if they were to die, it would mean that they were unworthy in the first place.
And the whole reason they were pushed down that path is because they wanted to preserve their species from the God Wave. They wanted to survive it and survive the cruel circumstances in which they lived as a species within the universe. It's so contradictory, almost hypocritical.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's just, for those who aren't completely aware, the pact they made with these worms when they received them, when they became Hive, was that they would continue to receive power and live as long as they continued to basically personify that which they originally came to pursue. And subsequently, you know, Oryx is an eternal search, an eternal pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the universe, and Savathun must be eternally cunning, eternally using her wit and intelligence to outmatch and outsmart and outdo everything, basically. And Xivu Arath, frankly, had the most simple of them, of just eternal conquest, always conquering, always overcoming something more powerful, always winning in combat. And they fail to do that, and their worms devour them. Okay, now
some really should have
stuff.
read the small print when signing lists in blood.
Yeah. Yeah, they might have considered that.
Get a lawyer in or two.
Yep. But no, you know, they were short on lawyers. They all died because of Teox. Okay, verse 3, part 5. Dictata Irdakawa. Attention. Perimeter security units attend. Stand by to assimilate new imperatives. Gland 60 proof assimilation liquor or face immediate non-compliance taxation. The Dakawa Ministry of War is now online and true. In radial year 989 Groove 3, our clients in the Dakawa Nest salvaged an interstellar spacecraft. Hull isotopes date the craft's construction 24,000 years ago. Around the same time, the fundament system dropped out of contact with our amiable ecumen. Semantic spike EL-symbols Praga symbols. I didn't want to try and state what all those symbols were. Mercenary explorers, disposable class, discovered an organism frozen in stasis deep within the hull. She claims to be Teox, member of a proto-hive species. During debriefing, she provided records of the fall of Ammonite civilization and vital intelligence about the motives, biology, and leadership of the hive. Negative reinforcement, bomb.axon 8x8 inflect, and over the past century, perimeter security units of the Ecumen Status Army have failed to halt hive incursions on 17 separate worlds. All species in Ecumen face extinction. Positive reinforcement, reward.axon 11xvv2 inspire. Decapitate, defer, promote Dakawa's strategic dicta for victory against the hive. Identify supreme hive leadership organisms, Aurash, Sathona, and Zyro. Target these Oh, I'm being kicked to orbit. Hello, orbit. Yeah. This has happened before. I forgot to wiggle. Awkward interruption in this broadcast here. I'm gonna go and wait for an invite here. This is not the first time this has happened. We actually had this happen on not our last stream, but the one before it, which was a little bit entertaining. Let's see here. Get her back up here in orbit. Jamps, if you don't want to stick around, I don't think we're gonna have anyone else show up, so feel free to head off. Thank you for coming in and doing this though.
Having fun in orbit.
Yeah, I got kicked for inactivity. It apparently doesn't register me speaking as me being active.
Gotta jump, gotta wiggle.
Yeah. Actually said I forgot to wiggle. Okay, so I'm going to just back us up a little bit on this one. Identify supreme hive leadership organisms, Aurash, Sathona, and Zyro. Target these entities with maximum theater overkill. Seodemetric release authorized. Prosecute targets whenever they manifest. Hive cohesion will crumble. Total victory over the hive will be achieved by clean sweep genocide. Enact impulse. Endora Vindicator. Yeah. So, enter this really, really scary smart species that we know only to be as the Ecumen. We don't learn a ton about them here, but they display incredible intelligence and a confidence that implies that they think they can obliterate the hive. So there's that.
Interesting that they actually find Teox as well, and she conspires with them against her former students.
Indeed. Well, she's kind of wants them gone.
You know what? I would want them gone too if I was her.
If I had to side with anyone, I would side with Teox. I mean, sure, her treachery is the only reason the hive exists, but at this point, at least she's trying to amend her mistake.
Exactly.
Oh, so verse 3, part 6, star by star by star. Beneath a green fire sky in the throne world of King Aurix, our lord's embrace, we, the hive, watch as Savathun puts her arm around Xivu Arath, and Xivu Arath clasps forearms with Aurix, and Aurix takes Savathun by the shoulder. They are huge, and they burn with furious power. But this embrace is weakness, and we despise it. Never before have we despised our lords. Have they failed us? We, the hive, have been driven back, world by world. I am at my end, Savathun says. I plot and plan, but I cannot gather enough bloodshed to feed my worm, and the harder I try, the hungrier it becomes. I slaughter and kill, Xivu Arath says, but the harder I fight, the more my worm demands. I, too, am at my end. The Ecumen war angels have killed me so many times, Aurix says, that I dare not go out into the universe, lest I need my might to protect myself. My worm chews at my soul in hunger. Is this the end of our crusade? Are we, the hive, unworthy to exist? Xivu Arath put down her great head. We should retire and gather our strength. Savathun closed her eyes in puzzled defeat. We should beg the worm, our god, to tell us what to do. But King Aurix, who knows best the beauty of the final shape, roars at them. Have you learned nothing? Would you deny our purpose? Whatever we do, we will do by killing, by an act of war and might. That is the final arbiter we serve, that violent arbiter, and if we turn away from it, we deserve to be eaten. No. We must obey our natures. We must be long-sighted and cunning and strong. We must take this gift the worm our god has given us, this challenge, and find a way to keep existing. How will we feed our worms? Xivu Arath asks. I know, says cunning Savathun. I know a way, but it won't work unless we are killing the Ecumen by the billions. How can we beat them? If we cannot beat their strengths, says Xivu Arath, we must infect their weaknesses. But they are lords of matter and physical law. I know a way, King Aurix says. But it will require great power, more power than any one of us can claim. Then kill me, says Xivu Arath, and use that killing logic, the power you prove by killing something as mighty as me. So King Aurix took up his blade and beheaded Xivu Arath. And strangle me, says Savathun, holding a blade behind her back. Use that killing logic, the cunning you prove by killing something as smart as me. But King Aurix turned with the speed and might of Xivu Arath and beheaded Savathun before she could move. King Aurix was the first navigator, with the map of death. These were true deaths, for they happened in the sword world. Then he went to the worm named Akka. Oh, hey, fanatics. Thanks for being here. Oh, I was wrapped up reading this terrifying verse.
It is very terrifying, that one is.
It was so intense reading it and just being like, oh my goodness, that just happened. That just happened.
That was my favorite one in this whole chapter.
Yeah.
The fact that they're actually on the ropes. Someone is defeating them. Someone is stronger than them because they are bound in servitude to the worm, their god, through the worms that inhabit them.
Indeed.
Parasites within them.
Which means, theoretically, the only way that there ever would have been to beat the hive originally would have been attrition. Because if something could simply hold them at bay and minimize losses, they couldn't grow stronger. The hive would die out due to an inability to gain their strength. They wouldn't be able to feed their worms.
I think this is exactly what was happening, and this is what drove them to the desperation of actually killing each other for the power that each one wielded.
Yeah.
I think this goes back to what we were saying, like when the hive, or at least the Ascendant Hive, kill, they gain the power and knowledge of the being they have slain.
Exactly.
Oryx is deciding to kill his siblings for their power and
well, Xivu Arath offered, and as you can see, I mean, it's not entirely clear, but Savathun was intent on killing Oryx instead, which, because, clever as she was.
She's staying true to her nature.
Yeah, but then Oryx had the strength and prowess of Xivu, so that didn't go very well.
I think in killing both of them, not only would she be staying true to her nature, but by killing Oryx, who has killed Xivu Arath, she would gain both of their essence, if you like. She would gain her Xivu Arath's strength and prowess in battle, and also Oryx's eternal mind searching and all the things he knows, the knowledge, power.
And that had she not attempted to, it wouldn't have been her.
Exactly. Interesting that he decides to stay true to the logic of the final shape. He could have just fallen down on his hands and knees like the others and gone, oh, what do we do? Should we beg the worm our god? And he's like, no, we're going to stay true to what we've learned, but just turn it against them. That's what surprised me the most.
It's true, that's interesting.
On that level is enough to shake anyone's resolve, but it doesn't phase him in a way that I would have expected.
No.
He's adapting to the situation, which is the logic that they apply to the entire universe.
Yeah.
Adapt or die. I just find that fascinating.
Well, we have verse 3, part 7, titled Eat the Sky. Which you might think, oh, they're eating the sky, haha, that's strange. No, they are literally endeavoring to devour the sky, the opposition of the deep. That's the explanation for that. It's not some weird metaphor. It is semi-literal. So this is verse 3, part 7. Emergency imperative. All militarized units attend. Gland 120, proof fight for flight encoding or face certain catastrophic defeat. The Ecumen Crisis Council is now online and true. Attention. As of radial 990, Groove 0, the Hive has launched a staggering counterattack across the Spineward frontier. Perimeter militia and shock fleets report total casualties. We anticipate total Ecumen disintegration and extinction within 220 years. Vigilance Spike EL, attend. The Hive entity Oryx/Aurash is deploying a paracausal ontopathogenic weapon that infects and subverts Ecumen forces. The weapon operates on individual targets. Targets are abducted and returned as compliant Hive slaves, with inexplicable and physically illegal abilities. All Ecumen clients should immediately devote all economic and cognitive resources to a countermeasure. Fight hard. We stop the hive here or see our galaxy devoured. Enact Impulse, Abeyard, Berserker. Well, I'm just going to hand over the ball to you, Lau, so that you can explain this cool paracausal ontopathogenic weapon thing that's just full of terrible wonder.
Yeah, I had to dig into a lot of the meaning behind those words, Latin prefixes and the like. Paracausal basically means it's the same as paranormal, something that is beyond the laws of what we perceive normal. And ontopathogenic is a bit more complicated. Onto is a prefix that basically means existence, and when applied to words like ontology, it means the study of existence within metaphysics. So what it means to exist, what defines existence. Pathogenic is a bit easier. It's either a virus or a bacterium, something which causes disease, an infection. So by this, the whole word would essentially mean a paranormal, reality-infecting weapon, which is a horrifying thing to try and imagine. And from this, that we could argue that Oryx's ability to take beings and bend them to his will is done by infecting individual beings with a parasitic power which takes over their mind and body completely, just breaks them, and changes the definition of their own existence by warping reality around them. That's scary. So from this fragment, what is actually being described is the Ecumen encountering the Taken for the first time. This is the first time the Taken have ever been seen.
Indeed, and the Ecumen...
Oryx created them.
And the Ecumen being an exceedingly intellectual species, as displayed by the fact that the three siblings were both terrified of them, and the fact that these entities can control physics and law to some degree. The Ecumen had similar powers to what the Sword Logic's goal was, to give them the ability to alter reality's laws. And so this species was capable of understanding what being taken was.
That is why they react so aggressively towards it. We fight, or the universe is devoured. That there's no room for error here. If we fail, everything dies. They understand it.
Well, they didn't know about us.
Their entire, yeah, they're willing to bet their entire civilization on stopping this.
Fanatics.
Rather than just lying down and dying.
I believe that's really just sort of... Oryx could be whatever he wanted to be in his sword realm. He could represent his power in whatever fashion and degree and level he felt like. And I suppose he decided to go with obscenely monstrous. I mean, you know, the feeling you get when Oryx comes soaring up from beneath you is terror. You know, in the words of, who was it on that video going, nope, 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 nope.
Nope, 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 run away, run away.
Yep. And that's the kind of reaction you have.
Retreat.
And I think that's the only real reason, is that's what Oryx wanted, was for immense fear. And other than that, I mean, the only thing is he could. Oryx had such incredibly vast power, he could show up however he wanted to.
I think in the Regicide mission, he also says, you're not worthy of facing me. I have taken entire worlds. And in the raid, the fact he's so large is just that manifest. You are so small and insignificant in his mind compared to him and everything he has achieved, everything he has destroyed, everyone he has ever killed. It's kind of like, in my mind, it's a metaphor for everything he has done in his insanely long lifespan.
Exceeding 25,000 years.
That guy is literally a fossil.
Yeah. It's mostly chitin. Yeah. Verse 3, Part 8, King of Shapes. This is the coronation of Oryx, the Taken King. It happened thus. In the cold abyss of the sword world, King Alrash walked under a cloak of green fire. He walked through the sky, and the sky shuddered and froze beneath his feet. He walked until he found Akka, the worm of secrets, who was denying a truth until it became a lie. Akka, my god, worm of secrets, I am Aurix, sole king of the hive. I have come to receive a secret. I want the secret power of the deep which you hold. I give no secrets, said Akka, whose voice was a code. No, said Aurix, you give nothing. Giving is for the sky. You worship the deep, which asks that we take what we need. Akka said nothing, because if it denied this truth, the truth might become false. But you gave us your larvae, the worm, said Aurix, and that is why the worm devours us now, because it was given, not taken. So I must take what I need from you, although you are my god. Said Akka, you have not the strength. But this was a lie. Aurix had killed Savathun, his sibling, and Xivu Arath, his sibling, and he had the sword logic of killing them both. Aurix, the first navigator, set upon his god with his sword and his words and cut Akka to pieces, and took from those pieces the secret of calling upon the deep. He wrote this secret on a set of tablets, which he called the Tablets of Ruin, and he wore them about his waist. Then Aurix said, now I may speak to the deep, the beautiful final shape. I will be king of shapes. I will learn all the secrets of our destiny. His speech to the deep is not recorded here. But it is known that he returned, and he said, now I am Oryx, the Taken King, and I have the power to take life and make it my own. Then he went out into the universe and fought the Ecumen with his tablets, and the worm, his god, was pleased.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Yep.
This seems to be like the card that came before the fragment. This one's that seemed to come after this one that we've just read. The one we read was from the Ecumen's point of view. This is from Oryx's point of view. Happened before. This is how he gains the power to take beings. Exactly. And then the fragment we read before this was the effect of that power on the species that he was trying to annihilate. Strangely, they're the wrong way round, but there you go.
Yup.
I just find it interesting that the worm gods don't react with anger over the death of Akka. In fact, they're pleased.
Well, of course.
And the only way that I can explain that is that Oryx stayed true to his nature. He took what he needed rather than asking to be gifted with it.
Well,
to do so would show weakness, as the light does, as the sky does.
Well, the worms are simply agents of the deep, and the deep demands that you take, and Oryx took. So, I mean, they don't have a ideological grounds by which they could be upset with him because he did exactly as he should have.
Exactly. It's just so brutally honest.
Yep. Oh, well, the Leviathan comes to you with sermons, and we come to you with truth. Yeah. So, verse 3, part 9. Final part of verse 3, titled Carved in Ruin. Oryx made war on the Ecumen for 100 years. At the end of those 100 years, he killed the Ecumen Council on the Fractal Wreath, and from their blood rose Xivu Arath, saying, I am war, and you have conjured me back with war. Oryx was glad, for he loved Xivu Arath. The Ecumen wailed in grief. Then Oryx and Xivu Arath made war on the Ecumen for 40 years. At the end of those 40 years, Oryx said to the Takawa nest, Listen, I am jealous of my sibling Xivu Arath. Help me kill her, and in desperation, they agreed. But he drove the Dakawa nest into a trap, and they were made extinct. From their ashes rose cunning Savathun, saying, I am trickery, and with trickery you have conjured me back. Oryx was glad, for he loved Savathun. The Ecumen fled into the void. Then they made war on the Ecumen for 1,000 years, and exterminated them so wholly that nowhere except in this book are they remembered, this book and the mind of Teox, who was not found. And Savathun said, King Oryx, how will we feed our worms? Did you use my plan? Oryx told the hive, I am the taken king, and here is my law. You, thrall, each of you will claw and scream and kill what you can. Take enough killing to feed your worm, and a little more to grow. Tithe the rest to the acolyte who commands you. You, acolytes, lead your thrall in battle. Take enough killing to feed your worm, and a little more to grow, and take the tithe of the thrall you lead. Then tithe the remainder to the knight or wizard who commands you. Thus you pay tribute. You knights and wizards lead your followers in battle. Take enough devastation to feed your worm, and a little more to grow, and take the tithe of your followers. Then take another portion, as much as you dare, and use it for your own purposes. But if it is too much, your peers will kill you and take it. Then tithe the remainder to the ascendant you serve. An ascendant will be those among the hive who gather enough tribute to enter the netherworld. They will pay a tithe to those above them. And thus the tribute will flow up the chain, so that Savathun and Xivu Arath and myself will be fed by a great river of tribute, and we will use that excess to feed our gods and to study the deep. Thus all worms will be fed as long as we continue our crusade. This is my law. I carve it thus in ruin. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
It said and I had to, you know?
I know. Yeah, heck yeah.
Oh,
I've found one fatal flaw in Oryx's plan here.
that
And
being...
it's a flaw that we actually use to our advantage in the game. With the flow of tribute going up, it makes the hive a strong, cohesive society. But at the same time, there's a weakness, and that's if you take out all those at the bottom, tribute does not flow up. And by killing Crota, we have arguably deprived Oryx of, if not the largest portion of his tribute necessary to his survival. So again, it could be argued that by invading our solar system, not only was he avenging his son, but he was trying to ensure his own survival by gaining enough tribute to replace the whole Crota's death left in that flow of tribute. So if you took out the major people who provide enough tribute for the leaders of the hive to survive, you could technically starve them out, which would be quite a tactic.
Well, I mean, we talked earlier. It seems that the most logical way to deal with the hive is to attrition. It's just to outlast them. Because once they've engaged you, they're fully committed. They can't retreat. They have to stay and destroy you, or they proved that they were weaker. Incapable of existing if they continued to oppose you. And once they've committed to that, you know, it's if you can hold your own against them, they can't win. The attrition will destroy them.
Yeah. There's always a flaw. There's always something to exploit. They might be immortal, but you can starve them out by attrition.
Yep.
If you have the means. So we can defeat the hive, guys, I believe.
Well, I think we proved that by killing what should have been, or originally was, the most powerful of their original leaders. I mean, Oryx had the sword logic of Xivu and Savathun. So, you know, the only reason I think we overcame in essence was that Oryx attacked us like Xivu would have, with a direct assault, a conquering assault. There was no cleverness, there was no long thought. It was just anger and rage, which makes sense when you go back to the fact that they feel those emotions on such a scale that it's like an entire world feeling it. It's an entire world of rage and hate that was pouring out against us.
Their minds are a cosmos of their own, as
Indeed.
it said earlier in one of the fragments.
Indeed. And that was, earlier on in their lives.
Yeah.
Which, it's interesting. We enter, presumably, Oryx's sword realm, right? And it's his ship.
Is his sword realm.
But we do that, and it's his ship. Why is it his ship? My only idea, my only thought on that is that his sword world is so vast that inside of it is a literal replication of his ship, that there might be transport through the sword realm.
I think there's actually a fragment about this particular topic later on.
Is there?
Interesting to explore that one. Yeah, there is.
Well, that's exciting.
The construction of the dreadnought is explored in one of the future fragments. But his sword world already existed, but it was vulnerable to attack from his sisters. So he turned it inside out and built a dreadnought around it. It's pretty cool.
Well,
who turns the world inside out and builds a dreadnought around it? That's just weird.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Strategic.
All that hive logic. Man, I'm starting to miss the days of Death Acid.
Yeah, Death Acid was great. Well, there's still lots of Death Acid. It's still
true.
Hive.
It's true. Well, that was the last card for this entire verse. If we don't have any questions, then we're at our hour mark, so... Come on, chat. Give us a question. Ask us something. Demand that we give you knowledge. Be like Oryx. Hashtag be like Oryx.
That's so going on my Twitter later. In fact, it's going on now. Hashtag be like Oryx. Here you go.
All right, fanatics.
Like Oryx.
What is this question? I don't care if it's awkwardly just like about Mars all of a sudden. Or Urox. Hang on. I gotta look up the name. I don't remember who Urox was in everything. I recognize it. It was Urox, the Flame Prince. The Flame Prince!
He's the scion of Oryx, isn't he? He's in the Prison of Elders. He's the hive boss who sets fire to the ground.
Yeah, he's the fiery guy in there. Isn't there a card on him?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, give me a moment to pull that
He's
up.
described as being a prince, like Crota was, so...
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was a prince of the same line.
That is true. That is true. Also, I think Crota has adoptive siblings, like Thalnok, I think, is one, and Alec Hool was one.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it says it somewhere in the grimoire. I'm going to look for it.
I've got to find Urox here in this obnoxiously large thing here. Urox, Flame Prince. Prince to none, Urox kept watch over a long-forgotten brood long ago. With the remnants of that spawn at his side, Urox calls out to all wielders of the light to burn away all they are until only darkness remains. So to answer your question logically from this grimoire, that would actually be no, because Urox is Prince to none and kept watch over an old faction of the Hive that seemingly no longer exists.
And I've just found the Alakul card, and yes, Oryx describes him as "O beloved foster son," and the same with Thalnok, the fanatic of Crota, who looks just like Crota.
Huh.
Guy's obsessed with Crota.
So there you go.
Line, I think he's referenced somewhere in the game as being the heir to the Osmium throne, and the Osmium throne is Oryx's throne, and before Oryx it was the king of the Krill of the Osmium court, so that's where that comes from. So Crota definitely was next in line.
Here's some bonus grimoire.
Crota dead and Oryx dead, then Alakul wanted to step in because there's no one left to fill it. Here's
some bonus grimoire from the Oryx Taken King card. It's such a good card. It opens with "Where is my son? Where is Crota, your lord, your princely god, your godly prince? Tell me no lies. I feel his absence like a hole in my stomach. Where once his tender tribute wetted burrowed mouths, now only hunger remains. Hear me, O waning stars, O tattered rags of sky. I will stopper up this tearing gulf with vengeance." So that's the opening part. That's Oryx being angry. But then there's this even neater part. Even neater. "Dearest Eris, Crota's bane," in parentheses, "now we shall see how well you wear that title. It's not all bad. Yes, the father of all your burdens comes to you with hate on his sword and hunger in his heart. But don't look at it that way. Did you not, when you lost your sight, gain another? Sharpen your intentions. When life is strength and strength is death, what is death if not hope? You just have to reach out and take it." So, there are two possible answers to who is speaking in the second half of this card. I only accept two. One is Oryx. Two is the worm inside of Eris, because there's obviously a worm in Eris.
I always thought it was Toland. It sounds like his voice in the other grimoire cards, because there's a quote on the raid ship saying, what is it? "Life is death and death is power," which sounds kind of similar to that quote there. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, it's similar. It says that when life is strength and strength is death, what is death if not hope? But that's just bonus grimoire. But I think we've covered our questions, and we've covered our grimoire for this week. Thank you, everyone who came out and attended. Thank you for the champs for modding once more. It has been a pleasure having you all. Do you have anything else to throw out here at the end, Lau?
Oh, sorry, I just muted myself. Yeah, I think we covered it all. That was a great discussion. I really enjoyed that.
Oh.
Looking through all those things.
Okay, one more small question. We're terrible at signing off. Fanatics, to cover that, Eris took something to make herself one with the hive. That's why her eyes are hive eyes, and she's able to hear the whispers, and she's able to have these visions of the hive things and all of that. Is because she became one with them to a degree, and the only logical way that that would have been done is by taking a worm. And it's logical to conclude that because what we know of the worms is that they force you to pursue an ends, an ideal that consumes your persona. And what do we know of Eris other than her utter fascination, obsession, determination of obliteration of the hive, first with Crota, and then with Oryx, and now she doesn't know what to do. And she will come up with something, I'm sure. But, logically, the only answer is that she has a worm. So yeah, she is, in a sense, hive. Yeah.
That makes me feel really uncomfortable hearing that.
Yep.
I've been buying things from this woman in the tower.
Yep. And she is as dangerous as any other hive. So,
I don't trust her. Not one bit.
and on that happy note, this has been the Tower's Watch, and we're signing off.